On the morning of March 10th, the Portuguese freighter MV Solong slipped away from the Scottish coast, sailing toward the Netherlands. Her hull contained more than routine cargo. Among the containers, reports suggested materials of unusual concern, perhaps industrial chemicals or military supplies, their exact nature and destination a subject of speculation. The fog crept in, obscuring the horizon ahead. As Solong pressed forward through the haze at 16 knots, her radar silently registered another vessel's presence. Yet there was no reduction in speed, no change in heading. The bridge remained eerily silent. The freighter continued, blind, fast, and directly into the path of one of the United States military's most strategically sensitive tankers. Some say it was an accident. Others aren't so sure. The troubled freighter. With 2 decades of service behind her, MV Solong had long been considered one of the most dependable freighters in the fleet of Ernst Russ, the German shipping company that operated her. But in recent years, signs of age had quietly begun to show. In 2024, a team of safety regulators flagged 10 separate issues aboard the vessel. Among the most concerning, a steering compass too inaccurate to trust, alarm systems that might remain silent in a real emergency, and life-saving equipment in questionable condition. Still, Ernst Russ quickly downplayed the findings, ensuring all issues had been addressed and repaired. After all, in her long history of service, Solong had never been involved in a major incident. There was no reason to believe this would change anytime soon, especially while gliding through the relatively calm waters of northern Europe. In early March, the vessel was tasked with transporting a large shipment of chemicals and industrial materials from Scotland to the Netherlands, a typical assignment. But as Solong approached the Humber estuary, an anchorage off the Yorkshire coast, where several cargo ships were stationed, it quickly became clear something wasn't right. Wrong place, wrong time. Stationed at the anchorage site was the U.S. oil tanker Stena Immaculate, a 600-foot-long vessel capable of carrying nearly 50,000 tons of cargo. At the time, she was on lease to the U.S. government, one of the few vessels selected for the tanker's security program, carrying more than 200,000 barrels of jet fuel intended for United States Air Force personnel at Lincolnshire. Upon departing from Greece, the vessel arrived at the Humber estuary before engaging in the final stretch of her journey to port, joining other anchored cargo ships and tankers. This was standard procedure, and though the anchorage site was uncharted, it had become a known waypoint for many mariners in the region. In fact, while the U.S. ship remained stationed, it's estimated that as many as 6 other vessels navigated through this temporary anchorage point, conducting slow, careful maneuvers, threading past the cluster of waiting ships without incident. But on the morning of March 10, 2025, visibility had deteriorated. Weather reports warned of heavy fog drifting in thick bands across the region. The Immaculate remained in position, waiting for clearance to approach the port. But before she was allowed to move, Solong began to creep closer, slicing through the haze. The Portuguese vessel was approaching at 16 knots, or nearly 19 miles per hour, far too fast for entering a zone that potentially held multiple stationary ships. Yet she didn't slow down. At 9:47 a.m., the inevitable happened. Crash. According to Sea Trade Maritime News, Solong struck the Immaculate 3 times in total. The first collision alone shoved the tanker approximately 40 feet, causing it to violently swerve for several minutes. As the situation unfolded, Humber Coast Guard issued a warning to all nearby vessels, quote, "Solong has collided with tanker Stena Immaculate in the outer anchorage. Both vessels are abandoning." It's been reported that at least one of the compartments carrying jet fuel aboard Stena Immaculate was ruptured after Solong crashed against her hull. There was no possibility of saving either ship. The fire spread too quickly, and the damage was too extensive. Photos and video taken in the aftermath show the Immaculate completely engulfed in flames, with a dense column of black smoke twisting skyward from her midsection. All 23 American crew members aboard the Immaculate managed to evacuate. Shortly afterward, 38 crew members from the Solong followed. However, As the emergency teams accounted for the survivors, an absence was noted. Crew member Mark Angelo Pernia did not make it off the ship. To this day, he still hasn't been found, presumed to be the sole casualty of the crash. In the hours that followed the accident, a no-fly zone was issued around the crash site. Rescue vessels and aircraft were dispatched to retrieve the crews and begin fire containment. The two vessels, now unmanned, drifted into the open water, still burning as emergency responders arrived. As the crews were brought safely back to port, damage to the environment became more visible. Jet fuel leaked from the Immaculate's compromised tanks, forming a slit across the sea. From Solong's side, plastic pellets used in industrial manufacturing poured from ruptured containers, scattering across the water. Together, the spill created a toxic tide that began to spread with the current, immediately raising alarms among maritime officials. Initial fears surrounding 15 containers of sodium cyanide reportedly on board Solong were addressed shortly after. According to Ernst Russ, the containers used to transport this dangerous chemical had not been filled up before departure. At the time of the crash, the freighter was only carrying alcohol. While rescue operations continued and containment measures were enforced across the affected area, investigators began to analyze the event in detail. Multiple agencies worked simultaneously to determine the circumstances that had allowed two large commercial vessels to collide in waters that until that morning had been calm, controlled, and considered routine. Something was not adding up. What happened at the North Sea? Bringing the vessels back to port to conduct investigations was no small feat. For hours after the collision, the Solong and Stena Immaculate remained locked, fires burning well into the following day. It took days before officials could approach safely. Stena Immaculate was towed to Great Yarmouth, while Solong was brought to Aberdeen. Once ashore, officials could witness the true scale of the damage. Stena Immaculate bore a massive gaping wound on her port side, torn open by the repeated blows. Solong's forward section was seared and blackened by the flames. It's likely that the cost of repairs for damage like this could soar into the millions. That is, if repairs are even possible at all. As investigators searched for answers, Jin Wang, a maritime technology professor at Liverpool John Moores University, put it bluntly, quote, "It seems improbable that all the factors leading to a collision of this nature could have occurred simultaneously without human error." And human error, it turned out, was in no short supply. Neither vessel had posted a lookout. No one stood watch at the bridge. No eyes monitored the horizon. No hands hovered over the radar. All of this is in an area obscured by fog and cluttered with anchorage traffic. Despite the fact that Stena Immaculate had transmitted her position, according to crew members, there was barely a warning before Solong came crashing out of the mist. Soon after, Solong's captain, Vladimir Motin, was arrested and charged with gross negligence and manslaughter. But not everyone was convinced he was at fault. Others pointed to Solong's troubled history with technical malfunctions, flagged in past inspections. One former crew member came to Motin's defense, quote, "Motin is a fairly experienced captain. He had to perform controlled skids at speed to enter the channel properly, and he did it flawlessly every time. Steering failures are not uncommon. If a rudder system locks up, the ship can't change course." And then there are the other theories, the ones that suggest this was no error at all. Sabotage. In the immediate aftermath of the collision, White House officials announced they could not rule out sabotage, pointing out that a seasoned cargo captain ramming one of just 10 tankers entrusted with transporting fuel for the U.S. military's most sensitive operations was deeply suspicious. No hard evidence has emerged to confirm the incident was a calculated strike designed to destabilize U.S. military supply chains. British authorities have also remained cautious when talking about these theories. Transport Minister Mike Kane stated plainly, quote, "Whether there was foul play, I think is speculation. There's no evidence to suggest that at the moment." However, he also stated, quote, "Something did go terribly wrong." So, to this day, the investigation remains open. Captain Vladimir Motin's trial is not set until early next year, leaving many wondering how exactly 2 experienced ships equipped with radar systems could have been involved in a crash like this.